Second question reads, where would a country want to be on the production possibility curve or production possibility frontier? Inside, outside, or on the curve? Why? And how does a country make that decision? So to jog your memory on the production possibilities frontier, simple version would be two goods produced by the economy. Good one we can say is coffee and good two we can say is like tea. Only two things an economy produces. The production possibilities frontier is going to be the maximum combination of goods and services that the economy can produce efficiently. That's a terrible line. It's going to be bowed outward. And there are kind of essentially three possible locations you can be. You can be inside the curve, you can be on the curve, or you can be outside the curve. So point A, which is inside the curve, is going to be attainable, which means that combination of goods can be produced, but it's going to be inefficient because we could produce more of one good without giving up some of another good. So that's attainable, but inefficient. Did I spell inefficient wrong? You get the gist of it regardless if I did. So, for example, maybe at point A here, we can produce 2 coffees and 1 tea, and that's great. We can have that, but without giving up any coffees, we could be at point B here on the curve, and maybe at that point, we're consuming 4 coffees and 4 teas, and we can still have our 2 coffees. Similarly, we could also be at point D and still have that 1 tea. So without giving up any teas, we could instead have call that 8 coffees. So this brings us to points B, C, and D. So we're going to draw numbers for C. Maybe we'll call that 6 coffees and 3 teas. So B, C, and D are what are known as Pareto efficient or technically efficient points. And Pareto efficiency is when you cannot have more of one good without giving up some of another good. More generally, Pareto efficiency is a state when you cannot make one more person better off without making somebody else worse off. Pareto efficient. So say we're at point B, the economy is producing efficiently, and that they're producing 4 teas and 2 coffees. Say then that preferences change for some reason, and the people instead want more coffees. You can begin producing more coffees, but to do that, you're going to have to produce less teas. So maybe that looks like moving to the right along the curve, maybe moving from point B to C, or somewhere in between, or somewhere further down to point D. Lastly, we have point E, which is a point outside the curve, and this is preferable. We would rather be at point E than any of point A, B, C, and D. So it is preferable, but it's unattainable. Preferable, preferable, but unattainable. So if we draw down here, try to draw E in line with these other ones. So point E is a point where you can have, the economy can produce 4 teas and 8 coffees. Obviously that's preferable to B because it's the same number of teas, but you have 8 coffees instead of 2. And obviously it is preferable to D because you have 8 coffees either way, but at point E you get 4 teas and at point D you get 1. Preferable to point C as well because at C you get 3 teas and 6 coffees, but at E you get 4 teas and 8 coffees, so it's more in both categories. So ideally we would be at point E or further out, but due to scarcity and constraints, the efficient amounts we can produce are characterized by the possibilities frontier, which is the boat outward arc. So that's a quick lesson on how the productions possibility frontier or the productions possibility curve works. To get back to the question read, where would a country want to be on the production possibility curve? Inside, outside, or on the curve? Why? And how does the country make that decision? Junior tutor. Our junior tutor said that the production possibilities frontier demonstrates the maximum combination of goods and services that the economy can produce efficiently using the available technology and resources within a given time frame. A country will want to be on the production possibility curve to attain the maximum productive efficiency. The goods and resources that can be produced by an economy plotted on the production possibility curve are considered to be technically efficient or Pareto efficient, while the goods and resources that lie beneath the curve mean inefficiency due to unemployed resources. So that refers to point A. Points outside the curve are unattainable because they require more resources than are available. So that refers to point E. We would prefer to be at point E, but we don't have the resources to produce at that level. To summarize, unemployment on a production possibility frontier would be a point inside the PPF. Full employment on production possibility frontier would be a point on the PPF. Outside the PPF, points are unattainable due to the lack of resources. So if unemployment was inside the curve and full employment was the curve, then maybe to get to point E, we would have to have technology increases so that each person would become more productive, or we would maybe need to bring in more labor so that there were more people working, and that would push the curve outwards. Trying to think if I have anything to add to that. Yeah, obviously, countries would prefer to be at full employment at all times. Of course, that's not always possible. For example, right now we're in a pandemic. As a result, there was a huge spike in unemployment as companies tried to minimize their losses. I'll leave that there for a second. You guys can take a picture. And we can move on to question 3.